We all have a unique view of the world we are in, how you overcome your challenges or attain your goals. Every experience in life has the potential to inspire, influence, and impact those around us. Welcome to the 3i Stories podcast by Better Version of You. Hello, friends. Welcome to the 3i Stories podcast by Better Vision of You. Today, we are super excited to have another amazing individual who I have had the privilege of knowing for quite a while. Someone who is a business leader, someone who is an amazing parent, and someone who is also quite heavily committed to development in the Fiji Islands through sports and business. So let's not prolong the excitement. Let's get into our conversation. Let's welcome Jaynesh Gounder. Jay, how are you today?
Great, thanks, Pritesh. Thanks for the kind introduction.
That's my privilege to introduce such an amazing person like yourselves. Jay, to get us started, could you tell us a little bit about life growing up?
Thanks, Pritesh. I grew up in a small town called Rakiraki, and both my parents were teachers, and they were teaching at a school called Penang Sangam School. And I had the opportunity to grow up near the school. And my earlier years, I was lucky and had the opportunity to represent my town's Rakiraki district in the local inter-district tournaments, and played inter-district in the earlier years, and was also lucky to be in the cohort to go to Nathamboa when I was about 13 years of age. I had the opportunity to stay in boarding school, met some great brothers or friends. Per se, initial years in the boarding was difficult for me to adjust to, but I think it left a incredible mark on friendship and meeting so many great people. You being one of them, I went to school with you, saw some great leadership traits from you as well, growing up in those senior high school years. And those were the growing up years, obviously, of being in school, being disciplined. The cadetship program in Nathambo was fantastic. And that sort of led to my life as a 17-year-old in New Zealand, where I was able to start my tertiary education at a place called Manukau Institute of Technology. And while being in Manukau, I met so many great people from Fiji. So my life has been around Fiji and the Fijian people, and we've made some great friends along the way.
Mm. And it's just so timely to be having a conversation with you, taking us back to our grassroots, Fiji, because being the Gurmit anniversary, the commemoration of the Fiji Gurmit on the 14th of May. Now, Jay, I know how our childhood shapes who we are as adults, right? And you mentioned Natambua High School, and I'm sure many of our friends from Natambua will be watching this. That was an incredible time under the leadership of Principal Mr. Bir Singh, and I know how that phase of our lives has shaped and molded us, grew us with the right, the values, the foundation, the character, to be how many of us ex-students are today. Jay, now from Natumbua High School, you mentioned you moved to New Zealand. Now I know sports, you've mentioned it, especially football has been a big part of your life. Just very briefly, from Fiji to New Zealand, how did you find settling into New Zealand and then pursuing the career that you are currently pursuing?
One of the things that we did back at uni days or TAFE, Medical Institute of Technology days, was we connected all the people who were interested in football. We had a club that we put together, and I was also lucky to be elected as a representative in the student council. So that allowed us to access funding, which allowed the school, like the college or university team, to be put together. And it put together a great bunch of people who had sports as a way to come together. Those friends are also lifelong friends. Like I've got Ronil, who's in Brisbane at the moment. We always catch up, and I've got a whole big bunch of people that we went to Christchurch with. I remember you were part of that that initial group
Yes.
that we were the first group of MIT students that went to Christchurch. We were lucky to be that group that enjoyed that trip, and I think made lifelong friends along the way. But that
Mm.
bond or the team created more of a lifelong view on how to view Fiji, our history and experiences of Fiji, and then created that platform for us in business or in finance. Whatever we did in life, it was all about being around a team culture. The team culture is what allows certain individuals to flourish in certain ways. So that's kind of the way that got me into accounting and working in finance and being in business.
Mm. That's so powerful. Just another amazing illustration of how the friendships in our later teens, early adults, that phase of life, the friends we hang around with, they normally say you are the average of the five people you hang around with. But I know the lifelong friendship that we build and then who then journey with us. Now, I know you are a very humble person, so I'll speak on your behalf. That friends, Jay runs an incredibly large brand out of Brisbane, Australia. Currently, he is joining us from Cairns, though, so you can see the commitment and the work that he is doing. He has a big team of close to 30 people is in his company, and Jay, you mentioned finance. So could you tell us very briefly what does your company do?
Agilis Accountants is one of the brands we have as part of our global brands. We have probably four pinnacles, four pillars of what we try and build. One is we've got an outsourcing business in Sri Lanka, so we give opportunities to about 30 staff in Sri Lanka. We've built a team of 10 in Fiji, in Nandi, most recently. We've got a team of 5 staff in Cairns, Cairns is regionally connected with Fiji as well, with Fiji Airways now flying in here. And we basically are trying to the old traditional following the sun model, which allows our clients to get 20 to 22 hours a day of service, deliverable services in the business. So what we try and do is we do accounting and finance. We do media work, which is in relation to marketing, digital branding setups. We have shared office spaces, so we allow collaboration in the Brisbane and Cairns offices for businesses to come in and work with us. And we have a mentoring and leadership program that I run with all our brand leaders who work in the business. So uh, we try and do a number of things in the finance industry that takes away the need for complex information, complex matters to be resolved in a timely manner.
Wow, that sounds pretty amazing. There's quite a vast raft of things that you do, and I'm sure you do it very well. So, from your finance, if we pivot a little bit towards your passion for sports,
Mhm.
and you mentioned that you are heavily invested or committed to the development of sports in Fiji. Could you tell us a little bit about your involvement in sports? And I know you have quite a big footprint in Brisbane as well.
Yes, so the involvement comes back with, like you mentioned before, the 5 people that have an influence over your life. One of the guys that I got influenced in, and it was after the launch of his book, was a guy and a very famous football player by the name of Pedro Divanadiva. He played
Mm,
350 games for at rep level, Origin. He had a huge number of 33 games as a forward that he played for Queensland instead of Origin. He played as an Australian captain, uh, and also then in his later years, or when he was about to retire from the game, he went and played for Fiji and represented Fiji in this World Cup. His inspiration to help the people back in Fiji came from him being in the camp, which allowed
mm,
us to be inspired, and we were told to do certain things. So uh, they're a very important part of what we were doing in business, obviously. So that's the inspiration behind rugby league, and I got to meet another very very close friend of mine, Stephen Driscoll, who's the executive director for Pacific Facility Services. He is the CEO of the KVT Salthouse, and
Mm.
I was involved with the setup and establishment from earlier years. But there were so many people who were involved with the initial setup, and being involved with it has been quite fulfilling. Seeing the progress of these young men who have come through our program and being able to achieve their dreams of playing footy in Australia. A little bit about KVT Salthouse. They are a development pathways program. We've got 10 EDP centers around Fiji. One of the centers is in Ra, another one in Yasawa. The main center is in Lautoka, and they develop 20 the players over the 23 games that they play in Australia, and the Australian teams fly to Fiji for that as well. So it's more like developing the pathway for NRL club. We're playing against Parramatta Eels, West Tigers, and we're a feeder to the Canterbury Bulldogs. So there's a lot of players who actually do well get into the Pathways program, then they actually get shifted to the Bulldogs program. So we've got 8 players in the Bulldogs program right now, not playing in RL, but they're playing in New South Wales Cup or other competition in Australia.
Jay, just very briefly, what is your direct involvement with the KVT Skill Tales?
My role is one as a board member of the Saltels and also as a sponsor. So our firm, being Agilis Accountants Smart Succession, contribute funds to ensure that the club's operational budget on a yearly basis is met. And the club has a number of full-time consultants who work in the club, and they are incredibly important for the development of these men or young men to become something that they want to be in the future. So they're playing the under 21 competition. So that's why we get involved with it. And I've been involved with the club since 2019, working with Petro and Steve on numerous matters.
Brilliant. You know, Jay, growing up in Fiji, we're almost kind of ingrained in us or told that, once we grow up, we give back. That's just a culture we have grown up with. And I'm just seeing your journey from growing up in Fiji to moving to New Zealand to pursue your tertiary education, building a reasonable brand here, or personal brand as well, and then moving to Australia, where then you are part of your own global brand. And then now that you are giving back to the community, that is just incredible, very inspirational. Now, I know normally there would be something in our younger days which shapes us or molds us into what you are doing now. In terms of serving, I'm saying. Now, is there someone in particular that you'd like to acknowledge who has had a big part in your younger days to help you to be who you are today?
Like the most important part was my dad going back and serving as a principal of a school in his where he originally comes from. So being in Rakiraki, and my mum was a mainstream teacher, school teacher. Like she was doing a lot of teaching, and she did 28 years of education in Fiji, and she basically changed the sector for Rakiraki when she chose to lead the school for the disabled kids. So I think a lot of that comes from my mum, who who wanted to give back to community and
Mm,
create a foundation for disabled. Probably the biggest thing that I saw was that's when I got inspired, and the Duke of Edinburgh program at
mm.
Nathambua was a show of that you've got to play a bigger part than just sit and do your own thing. So all those things combined together, I think, inspired us to do certain things. But none of this could be possible without the support of love and care from the existing family, my wife and the 2 children. They're always supportive and created that platform for us to be able to do that. So yeah, I'm always grateful for the family and the leadership from my brothers as well.
You have a slight benefit of the wisdom of your elder brothers and siblings. Yeah. Jay, it just shows once again, and this is almost becoming a theme for our podcast, the importance of family, the importance of a good support structure and family structure when we are growing up. So thank you for highlighting that to us. Now, this is again a very nice segue into your family life. You are an incredibly busy man. You run a global brand, plus also do a lot of serving through sports. How do you balance all these things? And you mentioned with the wife and your two kids. What's the secret?
It's all about trying to finding the right balance. There's no right or wrong balances. I think what is important is ensuring that when you're in the moment, you have to be agile and listen to what their needs are as well. So I've had the pleasure of getting them involved with the club on a number of occasions when they have been in Fiji. And I got my son involved in the program many years ago when he came and stayed in the camp with the boys for 2 weeks. And he saw the impact it had on young men. And for him to see that and experience it was also a highlight of my career, that my child could see what we're involved with, and that was inspiring. So no, that is it. Like you got to get them involved in a shape, in one way, shape, or another. So that's what we try and do as part of the program.
That's profound. That's profound, Jay. Whereby, you are involved in doing so much, but the best way is you have your family journey with you, right? And I know uh, many a times it's told that the leadership journey can be lonely, but I sometimes beg to differ that hey, if your kids, if your family. Your partners are sold in for your vision, then they feel more committed. They feel like they're part of it, and it just whoever as a leader, it just inspires and encourages and motivates you, knowing the entire whānau is journeying with us, right? And when it comes to success of what you're doing, then that success is shared and distributed with all. That's a good one. I'll take that, Jay, having your family involved. But I do understand balance could look different on different days, right? We juggle things differently, and but everyone collectively as a team, we can achieve that. Now, Jay, there's already quite a lot you have achieved in life, and I'm sure there's many more to come. Till now, what has been some of your greatest lessons in life and some of your biggest challenges?
One of the greatest challenges has been, self doubt, like doubting whether this would be successful, doubting how the world sees it, doubting how the family sees it, and those were critical at times. And the way to manage it was, going back to the circle of influence and talking through with them what it means. So those were coping mechanisms. Like, are we doing well in business? Are we? How do you define success? Is it the number of people? Is it the dollars you make? Is it investment? How do you define that? So all of that had to be seen from a balanced perspective. Those challenges were better managed when we started listening to the people who influenced us in the right manner, is by saying, well, you can't control what you can't control. So you can only have things that you can focus on that you have control over. And, just the sounds and the noises that you hear in your head is sometimes things you don't have to worry about. And, the influences can be very negative because your newspaper articles, everything you read is all about doom and gloom, but those are things you can't control. So working with people, working with like the likes of Petro, who used to tell us when they were playing Origin, they were losing games, all the negative um, messages on the media, they were
Uh,
told to shut it down. They were told to, lead in a different manner. So if you can see a lot of people that have done so well in their lives in sports, and they have coping mechanisms, you can learn so much from them. So I think it's helped us, cut through the noise, focus on what's working, focus on what's positive, and the minor things don't matter.
Jay, you touched on a very important point here, whereby you acknowledged Petro's influence in your journey once again. You say having someone who is few steps ahead of you, whether you call him a friend, a colleague, or a mentor, or a business coach, how does that help? Because sounds like Sir Petro has been exposed to some serious pressure when if it's Origin or World Cups, etc. How you handle that? So how is that in terms of how you operate as a leader?
One of the things we do is every leader needs a coach. And one of the important parts of that is because you start doubting some of the decisions you make. Your decision making is not going to be 100% correct, but it's how you recover from that, how you manage that, um, how you deal with it. So there are coping mechanisms that they come up with, whether it's on the sports field, where they're playing for the 80 minutes of football, versus whether it's in business life, because it's something that you have to continue to do. You have deadlines, you have timelines. So they're very similar and dissimilar in many ways, because you kind of not playing with a broken hand or bloodied forehead or anything like that. You are wounded in other parts of the business, so you've got to actually learn how to cope with it. So the alignments are very similar, and we feel that these people can influence them in the correct way. So, and I had the privilege of listening to him on a number of occasions, but also I count him as a friend, and we have our regular catch-ups. Uh, and there's other people in the circle who we sit down and talk about different things. So it's important that you have that circle. The circle of the right influence will determine where you head to.
That's powerful, having your own tribe, but at the same time having members who can act as a coach, who has been exposed to bigger things when or there are few steps ahead of you on the ladder, the few rungs ahead of you, so you can look onto them and seek their advice. Now, Jay, you are a leader. You have a very successful global brand, and you're doing quite a lot of sports work as well. But coming back to your organization, you have about 30 people in your team. You as a leader, how do you manage your team?
The team I'm blessed to have around me are great people with the right attitude. So we feel that aptitude over attitude can lead you to win awards, but attitude over aptitude brings that culture of turning up for each other. So you're committed, you have clarity, and you know what your goals are. So as a group, they tend to lead in that manner. And having them as part of a team, you actually feel privileged. I'm not the leader; they are the leaders, and I'm part of their tribe. So they have the autonomy to deal with certain things, and the autonomy allows them to be free thinkers and lead in a manner that can achieve the organizational objectives and goals. So I feel that they have the ability to do that, especially in a professional environment. They are qualified. A lot of the people that we have are chartered accountants and CPAs. They have had years of education experience, years of dealing with clients, years in dealing with the tax office, and they know how to deal with matters. So they know what their role clarity looks like, and they can lead from the front. So I'm blessed to have those people in our team.
And I'm sure it's their feeling is mutual as well. They're blessed to have you as a leader who's given them the autonomy to run in their lane, to do their best, so that the entire brand is impacted, right? I mean, everyone's part is important, and not just important, they're aware that it's important. So their contribution towards the success of your business is spread across and understood well. Brilliant, brilliant. Now, Jay, as we draw towards the close of our podcast, what is your advice to those who may be looking at starting a business?
Number one is be committed to the business, but don't be leaving your friends, your circles to ensure that the business is the only thing that you are focusing on. You got to have fun while you're doing that. It's either by creating a culture that is not just about money. So your big why is important. Why are you doing that? Accounting can be boring. Like I can hand on heart say that, but I am privileged to work with clients who consider um, giving us a call every time there's a life event for them. So whether it's someone getting married in their family, someone who needs to um, in their family buy a home, they will call us and ask for advice. So it's more about understanding their generational intergenerational matters. So it's the same about giving advice to younger people. You need to know your clients, you need to know your customer, you need to know what they're looking for. But on the same token, be approachable, be available. You don't be transactional is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Do whatever you do in business. Don't be transactional.
Mm, nice, nice. I love it. And what is one thing they can start like today?
Um, Turning up on time. When you commit to somebody to say you will call them and doing the right thing by them. So three things, it's very simple. And we're blessed to have come from Fiji because that's what we have been taught over the number of years. You turn up, you show up for your mates, you show up for your business, you show up for your customers. The second part is you you do what you have said you'll do and you commit to it.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, that's such a good, profound piece of advice. So, Jay, if people were to contact you, say from a finance point of view, right, for general advice or something for a jealous, what's the best way for people to contact you?
The best way is that we have got forms on our website and then we can direct it to the right people in the organization. So it can be fast tracked. So it's not bottlenecked. The second one is via telephone. We have listed our phone numbers on the websites and emails. So they're all on our agilica.com.au. I know so many Kiwis who are considering a move to Australia, considering what life looks like in Brisbane. Brisbane is a great city. It's one of the best cities in the world right now with Olympic Games in 2032. We haven't yet started building the stadiums, but there's a lot of demand for skilled people in Australia. And I think you even have your whole Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern who has moved to Sydney. I'm happy to field any of our phone calls about taxation matters. But yeah, definitely, it's having worked in both New Zealand tax system, having worked in Australian tax system, I understand the nuances, understanding the differences of what people need to do before they move across. And we have trained our team of professionals here in the Brisbane office on how to deal with those. Got to see a lot of people succeed in Australia and also get their financial independence. And if they want to go back to New Zealand, we can help with that process as well.
Now, this is slightly debatable. Sounds like you're poaching people to come across to cross the ditch, but that's fine. I'm sure many are. That's the trend. But however, it just shows once again that who you are as a person. You are very invested in human beings, and you are willing to help, willing to hear if there's anyone that needs advice. So thank you, Jay. That's once again, hats off to you as my senior. I'm talking about high school, right? And it's just amazing to see how you've evolved as a person. While even with your business, you haven't lost the human part of it, the value to add value into other humans. I absolutely love that. Now, how do people contact you, or how do people get into, especially the younger ones, get into the Silk Tales regime? Like, how does that happen?
In New Zealand and Australia, we love the rugby league. This program is designed not only for rugby league, but it's a development program. If they want to play for the Saltals, unfortunately, they'll have to be based out of Fiji because it's a pathways program for our Fijian based players. There is ways you can help support the program is by becoming a member, and the memberships are on the website siltals.com.au. They have got membership packs that is worth $40 for a year, and you get quite a bit of merchandise with it as well. fantastic to see this and see how things are going.
Brilliant. So for financial advice, we'll have Vajal's website up for people to contact. And for the Silk Tales as well, we'll have the websites on our podcast. So if people want to connect with you, or for that matter, contribute some way or the other towards the wonderful vision you have in building or having that pathway from Fiji into the other NRL clubs. Jay, it's been absolutely amazing talking to you. Any final closing words from you for our
Uh,
viewers?
Pritesh, it's been a pleasure knowing you, seeing you grow and do what you do. So it's very inspiring to see how you've been able to build a platform for people to express where they've come from, how they go about doing their lives. We're here to showcase what Fiji is about, and we continue to be those citizens that always gives back. So finally, thank you.
Thank you. And just very, very last, anything on Gurmit?
Well, I think we want to acknowledge our past leaders or grandparents and great grandparents who made the journey all the way to the South Pacific. And there have been stories about South Africa, Guyana, Mauritius, they're all good meteors. But this journey was a lot longer coming out of India to Fiji. And we should be so proud that yes, there are stories of slavery and hard labor and all the things that they had done at the time. But we also have to acknowledge the fact that they made those sacrifices that creates the platform for where we are today. So being in Fiji allowed us to work with a lot of great Fijian people. They have been tremendous in terms of their contributions to society. We made great friends in Nathambua and in the hostel. And if it wasn't for the great grandparents that made it to Fiji, we wouldn't have made those great friends. And I feel that we're truly blessed to have been born in Fiji because of the sacrifice that they had made. But we acknowledge their hard work and sacrifices. And we're truly blessed to have those legends who OGs had created something for us. So it's a positive impact that they've made for all of us.
Mm, absolutely. And like you said, their contribution is honored, something it's that we just don't forget. So thank you again, Jay, for your amazing word, for being the person you have become. And we wish you the very, very best, not just in your financial endeavors, but also with the development of the rugby in Fiji. And I'm sure, knowing you, I'm sure you'll pick up a few more initiatives and run with it. Jay, it's been a privilege to have you on our podcast. To all our viewers, thank you once again, and we'll see you in the next episode of the 3i Stories podcast by Better Vision of You.